Hi everybody, subscribe to Chemverse tutorial channel and hit the bell icon to get latest chemistry videos. Hello everybody, it is our lecture number 6 on organometallic chemistry, and today we will discuss about the reactions of metal carbonyls and we will discuss about the reaction mechanisms as well. So these are the 4 reactions what we are going to discuss today. But before going to discuss about these mechanisms, let's take a look at that how carbonyl molecules react and what are the possible mechanisms that it can follow. So let's move on to our mechanistic pathway, and we are discussing the substitution reaction. Substitution reaction of metal carbonyl. Suppose I am taking this molecule as our substrate and I am giving you another ligand. Some ligand is Y, and what I am getting, the product is something like this, where Y substitutes carbonyl. Now this kind of substitution can follow 2 possible pathways. It can follow associative pathway and dissociative pathway. So there are 2 possibilities and 2 pathways are available for this substrate. For the associative one, the possible mechanism will be something like this, where the incoming ligand Y associate with the metal, forming this kind of intermediate. And the next obvious step is the removal of this carbonyl. So I am getting this substituted product. So this is going through associative pathway. For dissociative case, what I can think, that it is your metal carbonyl molecule and the incoming ligand is Y. For the first step, what is happening? There will be the cleavage of this bond. So you are getting this kind of system, and over here Y attached to the vacant position of the metal, because when carbonyl is removed from the system, then there will be a vacant position over here and Y will occupy that vacant position. So this will form the same product but with different mechanism. Now for dissociative mechanism, the most important step is this bond breaking step. This step is the most important step, and you can call it as rate determining step also. So what you can say, that for here the rate determining step requires bond breaking. So what I can say, that bond breaking means we have to supply some energy from the outside to break the bond. So it will require much more energy as compared to corresponding associative pathway. So from here what I can say, dissociative mechanism requires more energy. So energy requirement is higher for dissociative pathway. So now you can easily understand, suppose any substrate has 2 options. It can go via associative pathway and it can go via dissociative pathway. If it has 2 options, then it will prefer to go via associative pathway. And one more thing is that sometimes what you can see, substrate molecule can rearrange themselves in such a way that it can follow the associative pathway. There is a problem with 18 electron species. These 18 electron species, now we will prefer to go via dissociative pathway. Now the reason is very simple. If you consider the intermediate, okay, suppose here you are taking this intermediate when it goes via associative pathway. So it was earlier 18 electron species, and suppose this Y is a 2 electron donor. It could be 1 electron donor, whatever. It could be 1 electron or 2 electron donor. In that case, what you can say, that over here association leads to the increase in the total valence electron count. So now the total valence electron count will be either 19 or 20. If Y is 1 electron donor, then it is a 19 electron species, this intermediate, and if it is 2 electron donor, then it will be 20 electron species. So what I can say, that over here this kind of intermediate is not that much stable. But if you take a look at this system, it is 18 electron species and it is turned into the 16 electron species. And in the organometallic reaction, you can easily say that whenever reaction proceeds via several steps, then from 18 electron to 16 electron and 16 electron to 18 electron, this transition to some extent stable interaction. Now, if the total valence electron is beyond 18, then that will be much more destabilized. So, for 18 electron species, it is better that it can go via dissociative pathway. But it's not like that it will always go via dissociative pathway, because there may be some amount of molecular rearrangement or the flexibility of the ligand that will help it to follow the associative pathway. Okay. Now moving on to our one example of this kind of substitution reaction. I am talking about nickel tetracarbonyl. Over here, if PMe3 trimethylphosphine I am adding, so I can get the substituted, which is basically the mono-substituted complex. Now I am adding another molecule of PMe3. Now it is forming di-substituted, another molecule of PMe3 forming tri-substituted, and the fourth molecule of trimethylphosphine will obtain tetra-substituted complex of nickel. If you count the electron, you can easily say that the nickel has 10 valence electron and carbonyls 2 electron donor, so 8, 18. Similarly, PMe3 or PR3 are 2 electron donors. I have already given you the list, so there you can find it. In my first lecture, I think that was the lecture based on the 18 electron rule. So in that case, I have already discussed that which ligand donates how many electrons according to the neutral electron count. So over here, what I can say, that here also it is 10 plus 6 plus 2, 18 electron. It is also 18 electron, 18 electron, 18 electron. So in all cases, the 18 electron complex is subject to the substitution reaction, and whenever 18 electron species is present, that will prefer the dissociative pathway. So over here, what I can say, that for the first step, among 4 carbonyl, one of them is broken first. It will produce this kind of system, and then there will be a vacant position, and then PMe3 ligand will come and it will form the first substituted product. Now it has 3 more carbonyls and there will be successive substitution reaction. Now one interesting feature what we can see over here, that if the rate constant of first step is K1, second step is K2, for third step K3 and K4, we can see that K1 has the highest value of the rate constant, greater than K2, greater than K3, greater than K4. It suggests that more and more substitution occurs, difficulty of the substitution increases. That is why the rate constant decreases. Now the reaction is becoming less and less facile. Now why this kind of observation we find here? Now the reason behind this, if you consider this PMe3 ligand, if you compare between PMe3 and carbonyl, so carbonyl is a strong pi acceptor ligand, but the pi acceptor tendency of PR3 is very low. I have already given you the list of the phosphine ligands in my previous class, and there I said that PR3 has much more donor ability. So over here I can say the donor ability of PR3 is greater than carbonyl. That is why when one carbonyl is substituted by trimethylphosphine, it will exert more and more electron density towards the metal, which will lead to the increase in the electron densities around the metal, and as a result of that, the extent of pi back bonding increases. If pi back bonding increases, this nickel carbon bond, which is basically the metal ligand bond, becomes more and more strong, and as it becomes stronger, the dissociation will be less facile. Now as we increase the substitution, so more and more electron density will arise over the nickel center, and as a result of that, what I can say that the bond breaking, that means the dissociation of carbonyl, will become less facile, and that is why the rate constant is lowered for the further substitution. Okay. Now similar kind of thing we can observe for the successive substitution of this chromium hexacarbonyl molecule. Now this molecule is treated with trimethylphosphine and it is undergoing the successive substitution. Disubstituted product, and there will be one more substitution step. This is the tri-substituted product. Now can you remember that what is the isomerism is depicted over this tri-substituted product? It is your facial isomer. In the previous class I said that for MA3B3 like ligand, there you can see that it can have two type of isomers. One is your facial isomer, another is your meridinial isomer. I will make a separate video on the isomerism in the coordination playlist, and I will upload video very soon. There you can find that how this kind of coordination molecule adopt different isomerism. Anyway, so for facial isomer, what I can say, if you consider it as a octahedral geometry, now over here, if you consider this part, okay, this part of the octahedral geometry, this is one face, and just opposite part is another face. Okay, there are some other faces also, but here I am discussing about two opposite phases of octahedral geometry. And if two opposite faces are occupied by two different types of ligands, suppose in one face there are 3 A ligand A, and in another face there are 3 ligand B. So this is your one face and the opposite face is like this. So this kind of isomers are called your facial isomer. In this case, what I can say, the successive substitution reaction of chromium hexacarbonyl will lead to the formation of tri-substituted facial isomer. Clear? Now I am erasing this part. Now, one observation is that the further substitution is not occurring. I think you have already understood that what could be the possible reason. Now, if you take a look at the donor ability of trimethylphosphine, it is much greater than the carbonyl. So, over here, when tri-substituted product is obtained, then the electron density around this chromium will be increased to such an extent that now the chromium carbon bond becomes very much strong. And since the higher stability of the chromium carbon bond, it will require much higher energy to break the bond, and that's why the reaction will not go further in the forward direction. Okay, so this is one interesting observation what we can see over here. But remember that all of these are based on your dissociative mechanism, because dissociative mechanism requires a bond breaking, and if bond becomes stronger, then the rate will be lowered. Now moving on to this reaction. In this case, what we can see that it's not any substitution reaction. Rather, there is H mu. H mu means some photochemical irradiation is occurring. It actually suggests that some amount of energy I am delivering to the system. So if I supply some amount of energy, so it will lead to the bond breaking, and there will be the dissociation of bond. Dissociation of bond and dissociation of carbonyl, rather you can say that it's more labile. So the carbonyl ligand will be dissociated. Now can you identify this ligand? It is your hapto-1 allylic ligand. I have already discussed it in details in the first lecture of the organometallic chemistry, that over here if negative charge is present, it is called the allylic anion, and it is allylic carbon ion, donating electron density to the metal and thereby forming the coordinate bond. So this is your hapto-1 bonding fashion. Now there is a possibility that along with this negative charge, this pi electron is also donating electron density to the metal center, and thereby the three centers of this organic ligand are involving in the bond formation, so or the electron donation. So the hapticity is now over here 3. Okay, so allylic ligand can have two types of hapticity. It can form hapto-1 complex, it can form hapto-3 complex. Based on the requirement, it can change its hapticity. Okay, so allylic ligand is one flexible ligand which has a flexibility to change the hapticity as per the requirement. Now remember that what is the total valence electron count of the species? Now manganese has 7 valence electron. Hapto-1 allylic ligand will donate 1 electron each, 1 electron, because the hapticity, whatever the value of hapticity, that will be the electron contributed. So now 5 carbonyl ligands will give you total 10 electrons, 2 per carbonyl, so it is a 18 electron species. Now if you say that 1 carbonyl is already dissociated, there are 4 carbonyls and 1 hapto-1 allylic ligand. It is your hapto-1 allylic ligand. So now the electron count becomes 7 for manganese, 1 for hapto-1, and for 4 carbonyl, 4 into 2, 8, it is now 16 electron species. Now over here, this is not a square planar complex. So for this case, the most stable total electron count or the total valence electron count will obviously be 18. So now it will think that how it can gain the 2 electrons from its ligands, and it can fulfill the 18 electron structure. So in order to do that, if the hapto-1 ligand is transferred into the hapto-3, so if it changes the hapticity, then it will give 2 more electrons to the system, and that will fulfill its criteria to make a 18 electron species. So as a result of that, what you can see, this hapto-1 allylic ligand is now changed into hapto-3 allylic ligand, and now it is changed to hapto-3 allylic ligand. So it is now 7 for the valence electron of manganese, 3 comes from this hapto-3 allylic ligand. I have said that what will be the number, what will be the hapticity, that will be the number of electron donated, and for 4 carbonyls, 8, so overall 18 electron. So this will be your product. This is your product. It is very simple. As per the requirement, the ligand which has a flexible hapticity will change its hapticity. Okay. Now moving on to our next reaction. Now look at this ligand. This is nothing but your hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl ligand, which has a structure something like this. When the negative charge and 2 pi bonds are taking part in the electron donation and forming the coordinate bond with the metal simultaneously. So there are 5 centers involving in the bond formation, and that is why what I can say that it is your hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl ligand, and it is commonly written as in this manner, that it is donating electron density from all of the 5 centers. Now apart from this hapto-5 bonding fashion, there will be some more hapticity. It can behave as your hapto-3, okay, where 3 centers are involving, that means 1 negative charge and 1 pi bond, and it can behave as your hapto-1. So these are the 2 possibilities that this kind of cyclopentadienyl ligand can form. Okay, so over here what I can say, that this one is your hapto-5 system, this is your hapto-1 system. Okay, now look at this molecule. H mu means I am supplying energy from outside, so there will be the bond breaking or the bond dissociation. So what I can say, that in the first step, first carbonyl molecule gets dissociated. Now if you count the total valence electron of the substrate, for iron it is 8 valence electron, for hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl 5 plus 1 for hapto-1, and for 2 carbonyls 4. So it is 8 plus 5 13, 14, 18 electron. Now when first carbonyl is already dissociated, then this system is turned into your 16 electron species. Now this hapto-1 cyclopentadienyl ligand can change its hapticity to hapto-3, so that the electron count becomes the 18 electron again. Okay, so now it changes its hapticity from hapto-1 to hapto-3. Over here there is another carbonyl ligand which can also be dissociated. So now it is dissociated upon H mu. So what you are getting? You are getting something like this. Our iron is there, and here it is hapto-3 fashion. So for iron it is 8 electron. It has 8 electron, 5 from this ligand and 3 from this ligand. So it is again a 16 electron species. And now this hapto-3 cyclopentadienyl ligand has one option to change its hapticity from hapto-3 to hapto-5. So it will do that. So here one hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl, here another hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl, to fulfill the 18 electron criteria. And now it's a stable one. It's a metallocene molecule. The common name of this molecule is ferrocene molecule. I'll make separate video on the metallocenes, and there you can find the bonding and the reactivity of this kind of metallocenes. So this is your stable compound or stable product what is forming over here. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Now what is the system? It is your hapto-5 cyclopentadienyl system, and it is your hapto-1 allylic system. Okay, H mu is giving, that means the dissociation will occur. So after the dissociation it will produce something like this system. Okay, now molybdenum is present in chromium series, chromium, molybdenum, tungsten. So molybdenum has 6 valence electron. For 3 carbonyl, 3 into 2, 6 electron is contributed. For hapto-1 allylic ligand, 1 electron contribution is occurring, and for hapto-5, 5. So overall it is 18 electron species. when one carbonyl is removed from the system or is dissociated, then it is turned into the 16 electron species. Understand? Now what it will do, the same thing what happened in the previous example. This hapto1, okay, this hapto1 allylic ligand will transfer into hapto3 allylic ligand. As a result of that, what you can see, that it can change its hapticity into hapto3 and it will form this kind of system. So it is again forming 18 electron species. Okay, so this is the product. Now you can say that there are two more carbonyls. Okay, so there could be the further dissociation just like previous case, but now the allylic ligand and cyclopentadienyl ligand has already reached into its highest hapticity. Now if the further dissociation of carbonyl occurs, then it cannot make up the electron deficit, and that's why the reaction will not be that much facile. So further dissociation is not that much favorable in this case. What we had seen in the previous example, that after the dissociation, okay, if you check this, after the dissociation of the first ligand, there is a possibility to change the hapticity of cyclopentadienyl ligand from hapto1 to hapto3. And now hapto3 can also change its hapticity to the hapto5 system. So there is the second carbonyl molecule which will also be cleaved, and then the hapto3 ligand will be changed into the hapto5 ligand, and that is why it will give the stability and fulfill the 18 electron criteria. Okay, so that there is a possibility of changing the hapticity or the increase in the hapticity so that it can increase the total valence electron count. But this system is completely different. Here no further extension of the hapticity can occur because both of the ligands has already reached into their highest hapticity. So further dissociation is not occurring. Now for our last example. Now from here what you can say, that PME3 ligand is present and it will substitute. It's nothing but a substitution reaction, and you will get this kind of system. Now this is right answer, but for your examination purpose, to know the product is not always helpful, because there you can find option that what will be the mechanism, and then what you will do if I ask you the mechanism of this substitution, whether it is dissociative or associative. Now you will go for the electron count. So rhodium present in cobalt group, cobalt, rhodium, iridium. So cobalt has 9 valence electron. Now this portion, don't be confused with this portion. This is nothing but your this kind of cyclopentadienyl ligand, a benzo substituted cyclopentadienyl ligand. So over here this pi bond and this negative charge is donating electron density simultaneously. Thereby you can say that it is behaving as your hapto5 cyclopentadienyl ligand. It is obviously a cyclopentadienyl ligand but benzo substituted. Clear? So this is happening in this case. Now what you can say, that 9 electron from the rhodium, 5 from this hapto5 system, and 2 plus 2 4 electrons from the carbonyls. So from here what you can see, it is a 18 electron species, and for 18 electron substitution is occurring. So you can say that over here it is your nothing but goes via dissociative pathway. Okay, you will mark the option where the dissociative pathway is mentioned, but it is wrong. I said that generally 18 electron species will undergo substitution via dissociative pathway, but if it has a possibility to adopt associative pathway, it will go for that, because you know that for dissociative pathway energetic requirement will be higher. Okay, now let's move on to the example that how it can perform the associative pathway. There's a possibility for this cyclopentadienyl ligand hapto5, it can change its hapticity from hapto5 to hapto3. So if it do so, it will be something like this. When these three centers are donating electron density to the rhodium center, So now it is changed into its hapto 3 system from hapto 5 to hapto 3. So the total valence electron count will be from 18 electron. It is now changed into your 16 electron. So it is your 16 electron species. Okay, for your simplicity, I am using different color. It is your 16 electron species. Okay, so now it is not a 18 electron one. It is 6. It has turned into the 16 electron species. And now if PME3 ligand is attached to the metal center, so that will lead to the formation of the associated intermediate. This one will be the intermediate, and what you can see that it's a 18 electron species which is the intermediate. A stable intermediate is forming, and the associative mechanism it can follow. Now the next obvious step is that, which will be the first step, that means the breaking of one carbonyl bond. When breaking of one carbonyl bond occurs, it will lead to the formation of this one, rhodium 1 carbonyl, and over here PME3. Now it again turned into the 16 electron species. Now this hapto 3 ligand can change its hapticity from hapto 3 to hapto 5 because it's a flexible one, and it has the option to adopt the hapto 5 system. So it will be turned into its earlier hapto 5 hapticity. Okay, CO PME3. So now it is changed into the hapto 5 system, and now if you calculate the electron, obviously it will be 18 electron because 9 from rhodium, 5 from hapto 5 system, 2 from carbonyl, 2 from trimethyl phosphine. So 9 plus 5 14, 18 electron, total 18 electron. Okay, so now it's a stable 18 electron complex. It is already a substituted monosubstituted product, but it undergoes the associative pathway. It undergoes via associative pathway. Okay, it's not the dissociative one. So 18 electron species has a ligand which has the flexibility to change the hapticity. So that ligand will help it to go or to follow the associative pathway. Okay, so far we have already discussed some very important reactions of metal carbonyl. We will solve some more examples in the KMCQ lecture. I will solve some MCQs over there, and that will be much helpful for you. And in my next video, you will get the topic of metal carbonylate, and the reaction of the carbonylates I will discuss on that lecture, and some more examples we will solve via MCQ in the KMCQ lecture. So wait for it, I will upload KMCQ video also. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you. Happy learning.